Welcome back to the Ashley V. Cash Show. I'm Ashley, and today's guest is none other than Dr. Keegan Stewart. He serves as the Chief of Staff to President Scott McDowell at Lubbock Christian University. He's the Advancement Officer, and he also teaches communication courses and advises several student organizations. Keegan holds both his bachelor's and master's degrees in communication, a foundation that serves him well across every part of his role, from donor relations to student life and to working alongside the president. Keegan also holds an education doctorate from Liberty University, where his doctoral research examined onboarding practices in higher education. And here's what I love about this. That research didn't just sit on a shelf. It became the foundation for LCU's new campus-wide onboarding program, launching this fall. Built around reducing uncertainty, creating belonging, and preparing new employees to truly thrive. And outside of work, Keegan can usually be found watching sports or relaxing at home with his wife, Ashton, and their two dogs, Gus and Bear. So grab a seat because it's going to be a fun discussion today. Keegan, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Ashley.
I'm so glad that you're here.
I'm happy to be here.
Now, I love... I had President McDowell on the podcast a few months ago, and we had a great discussion and talked about all the great things that Lubbock Christian University is doing, and really also got into the differences that we've seen in students coming into LCU in the past versus today, and all the great things that LCU is doing to prepare students. What I want to get into with you today is what exactly does onboarding mean? Because we just talked about your education doctorate is in onboarding.
Yeah.
And tell the viewers a little bit about what that means and what it does for the rest of the university.
A lot of the listeners have probably heard that phrase. Some are going to be more familiar with it than others, but really even that phrase onboarding didn't really start becoming well known until the early 2000s. And since then it's only grown, but onboarding is how you welcome your new employees into your organization. Like, what is their experience like when they first get there? Yeah, that's right. And so this can look different ways. One of the misnomers that I want to clarify, for modern onboarding, it's not just, okay, here's your 3-day orientation, or here's welcome week, or hey, come to this weekend, and that's onboarding. What we found in the research is that effective onboarding is stretching well into the employee's first year. So it's an extended process that's set up to guide them along, not just in their first few days. So yeah, that's what I got to do my research on, and what's even better is I get to apply that research at LCU right now, and we're in the middle of lifting it up.
That's awesome. You know, my husband was at Atmos Energy for 26 years, and they were said to have one of the best cultures in the country. And I saw that from the inside out, where the employees really cared. Yeah. They cared about each other. They cared about the customers. And as such, every employee wanted to make Atmos a better place to work. And I think that's so important, that culture, right? To create the culture. And I know, if you have an employee that doesn't match your culture, doesn't value your mission statement, doesn't value your value statements, then one employee can make all the other employees miserable. And so I think that onboarding process and introducing them to their culture and making sure that their culture fit is such a huge thing.
Yeah, absolutely. You can do a little bit in the interview process. You can get to know the employee, and the employee will likely know a little bit about you, but there's no way that they can know everything. And so yeah, that's right. Something strategic to help that unfold over time. And so you mentioned culture. Some of the things that we're about to do is 6 lunches throughout the course of the year. So one every other month. And these lunches are not just, hey, come get a free meal. It's going to be extremely intentionally programmed, programming. So the speaker, the topic, the conversation that's going on, all of it is going to be set to support our overall goal behind the onboarding, which is to reduce uncertainty, create belonging, and enhance job preparedness. So yeah, that's one way. There's other mechanisms that are going to be built into it. Mentorship is one of them.
That's huge.
One thing that we experienced at LCU is that a lot of times people were finding a mentor within their first few months, they might find that person, hey, could you help me with this? Or, hey, who do you go to? What does this look like? That was happening, but we're trying to eliminate the awkwardness of them trying to have to find it themselves.
Yeah.
So when they arrive, they'll be assigned a mentor, and both of them will know what that means.
Yeah.
There's a mechanism in place. The other big one, and I want to hear what you think about this, is what I'm calling intentionality on day one. What does the first day look like for the new employee?
Yeah.
When they arrive, is there a spot ready for them? Is there stuff ready, computer, technology? Do they know what they're going to do on their first day? And this goes back to reducing uncertainty.
Yes.
Think about when you've started a new job in your life. Well, there's nervousness there, right?
Yeah.
There's uncertainty. I don't know exactly what this is going to look like.
Yeah. And you want to walk in and do your best and set your best foot forward. And then you get there and you're like, well, they weren't even ready for me. Or I'm just being thrown to the wolves. And I have to admit, I have been bad about that myself, maybe even recently. But you're right. Being welcoming, having everything ready for them, having it set up, like being excited that they're there is a great way to welcome a new employee and make them feel like they're really going to be a part of something special.
It goes a long way.
Yeah.
And think about that person going to their loved ones after their first day. How was it? Oh, well, they didn't really have anything there for me. I didn't really do anything.
Or, man, I felt valued.
That's it. That's exactly it. And
Yeah.
so we're training our supervisors and our vice presidents right now. Here's what that looks like. Let's execute it. Research also shows there's great value in letting new employees hear from leadership. And so you mentioned him already, President Scott McDowell. We have a new system in place. Whenever a new staff member is hired, they're gonna get together with him for 30 minutes over coffee.
Oh, good.
And he's nice enough to do that, but that's another cool system that's a part of this.
But it all makes everything work so much more harmonious together. And one of the things that I think is really important, not just for the new employee, but for the other employees that are welcoming the new employee, is to set expectations.
Sure.
Like what we expect of you, and then also what our responsibilities are for the new employee. Like you mentioned the mentors. Well, that's great if you pair them together, right?
Have the right pair.
Right,
Yeah.
that you have the right pair, but also setting the expectations for either, especially, in academia, sometimes there's this thing called tenure, and sometimes they're older professors who are kind of set in their ways and don't necessarily like change sometimes, and just making sure that, but that's true at every business, right? And I mean, I'm guilty of it. I don't always like change. So just having the expectations that they're welcoming and that they're going to be helpful and that they're supposed to be reaching out to the new hire and vice versa. What is the new hire supposed to be doing? I've found that's really important to set those expectations.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We're trying to be wise in assigning those mentors, and that's what we tell the supervisors is, don't ask the same one every single time because fatigue will set in.
Oh, yeah.
Really think who would this person connect with? What do you know about that person, and what do you know about the other? And so use deliberation and find the right fit. So
That finding the right fit, that's such an important part, both in the new employee and in their mentor, but it's the right fit for finding students to be at your school too.
sure,
You know what I mean?
it is.
Especially in this day and age, there's been a 20% enrollment drop because there's 20% fewer 18 to, it's now 19 to 14-year-olds. And so fewer students in the pipeline for universities. And so making sure that they're the right fit to keep your college the same way that you want it and that they're happy there as well is important.
The demographic cliff, we're in the middle of it, and
We're in the middle of
and
it.
thankfully we've been able to ride that wave and still have success in enrollment. But yeah, you're right, we're right in the middle of it. And the last thought I meant to say, Ashley, before maybe we pivot, but on onboarding, research shows continually that if you do this well, your retention rate for employees is through the roof, which
Huge.
saves a ton of money in the long run for any organization.
And I mean, obviously that's important, right? We all have to look at our bottom line, but I think even more importantly, it gives you people who are truly invested in your university, right?
That's right.
they see their future there, not just this year, but their future there,
Mm-hmm.
and makes them more invested, which can only be good for the rest of the staff, but also for the students.
These orientation lunches, my goal is when an individual finishes all 6, I really hope they leave feeling like I'm more connected to that place. I know more about that place. I know more people at this place because I went to those, and it wasn't just okay. I checked that box. So really excited about those. The first one's in August, so it's
Well,
coming up soon.
I think all the concepts you have are going to be great, and I can't wait to have you come back in a year and tell us how it went
Sure.
and see what that's like. But so basically, you are taking a leadership role. President McDowell's got obviously a very important leadership role. I want to kind of pivot to leadership
Okay.
for just a minute.
Absolutely.
And what do you think leaders today need that they're not getting in school? I mean, you went back and got your educational doctorate to
Yeah.
learn this to be
Yeah.
a better leader, right?
Sure.
What are we not providing, whether it's K through 12 or then in college, to make people better leaders?
2 thoughts come to mind, and you tell me which one you want to do first.
Okay.
One of them is handling conflict,
Oh,
and the second is financial literacy,
ah.
simple financial literacy. So you tell me which one you want to talk about first.
Well, financial literacy happens to be like one of my passions. And so
That's one of your go-to things.
everything in me wants to handle that one first.
Yeah.
But I think I want to hold it for the finale.
Okay.
And I think I want to start with handling conflict.
Sure.
So what are your thoughts?
My observation is that because of culture, and because we're human, like we live in a broken world, we're humans. We we by default do it wrong, and I think it's a bad habit that
Get up in our feelings first before anything else.
yeah. I think it's a bad habit that we have way more bad examples of than we have good examples of. And so, I learned this in my 20s, and I'm not saying I'm perfect at it because it's one of those things that every time it finds you, it's always going to be difficult. But here's what happens. So say I'm frustrated with somebody, somebody I'm close to, somebody I work with. It doesn't matter. Say I'm
Just something flares all of a sudden.
Sure, yeah. Could be all of a sudden. But here's what's normal. Here's what the world says. I'm going to go and maybe I'll tell my wife about this situation. Tell her about how I'm frustrated and I'm annoyed and I'm bugged at them. Or maybe I'll go to one of my good friends. Hey, so-and-so's driving me nuts. Why do they do this? I wish they wouldn't do this. Why do they never stop? Okay, so I've had 2 conversations, one with my wife, one with my friend, and neither one of those conversations was pointed toward any kind of resolution.
Well, and it wasn't pointed toward the person that you're actually upset with.
They might not have any idea
Right.
I'm upset with them.
Right.
And so I really what I'm talking about here, it's not rocket science at all. It's actually very simple. Despite being simple, it's not easy. What I'm suggesting is there's great power in when you find yourself in conflict, going to that person and having a conversation with them, face to face. Also turns out we see this in the Gospels twice, in Matthew 18 and in Matthew 5. Jesus says in both instances, go to that person. I've experienced this. It can work. It can work, and there's great value in it. Now, it's important to really think about how are you going to go into this conversation? How are you going to approach it? What's the setting for this conversation? You owning your part in it.
Oh, absolutely.
Bringing the walls down. But I've been amazed at how many times things can be resolved if instead of talking or gossiping or talking around, go to them. It solves problems.
Absolutely.
And I've seen it time and time again.
A few months ago, had a issue with one of my very dear friends, and it was about our children. Our children were in conflict, and it kind of was putting a wedge between us. And I had taken a little bit of time, a couple weeks, and just not talked to her because I didn't want to say something that I couldn't take back. Because those words that come out of your mouth, they're powerful.
Yeah.
And especially, sometimes you get in conflict and things can spout out of your mouth just because you're angry. And I try not to be that person. I'm not going to say I'm perfect, but, and I had let time go, and it was actually getting harder to go back and talk to her because so much time had gone by, And so finally I was just like, no, I'm not going to shirk this responsibility anymore because I love her and I want to have the same relationship with her that I've had this whole time. And so, you know, I finally just bit the bullet and I went back to her and I said, hey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for my part in this. This is what upset me and this is how it made me feel.
Yeah.
And that is why I was upset. But I think by me claiming my responsibility and then telling her how actions made me feel, she also claimed her responsibility and said she was sorry. And she didn't get all like defensive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I have found that same thing to be true in my relationship with my husband when I'm mad at him. If I start to say, well, you did this and you did that, well, then he just gets all defensive, right? And then we can't have a conversation. Whereas if I say, hey, this happened today and it made me feel this way, and can we talk about a better way to do it next time? Well, then he's not defensive, right? And
Wall
so
comes down.
our words are so important. The way that we use our words and the emotions that we bring to the situation. But I absolutely agree with you. It's not like I don't like spreading rumors. I don't like, and I'm not saying that sometimes you don't need somebody to talk to and work through what am I going to do about this. But it also has to be a trusted source that's not going to go out there and spread it to you.
That's right.
And I really believe in not bringing that stuff into your marriage. Like you're in a covenant with your husband, right? And the only other one that should be in that is God, and having that conversation with him, but having that really important conversation with your husband. And sooner rather than later, before it's built really bad emotions between you and or even in some instances made you want to give up on your marriage.
Right.
But just being able to have those conversations and have that conflict. So how do we teach kids these skills though?
Yeah, and that's part of as you were saying that last part, that's what in my head this thought comes to mind on that question is the young leaders and the students that are about to launch. I see them have less experience with this because they're used to doing conflict behind the screens.
Oh yeah.
They're used to doing conflict through text or Snapchat, whatever it is.
And there's no concept of how it makes a person feel when it's through a screen.
Yeah.
Or care about it.
That's right. And I just truly believe it's less productive. Could it happen? Could good conflict be resolved over phone? Yes. But it's less productive. And the skills of, hey, let's get face to face and let's think about something. Let's talk about something. It just feels less and less. So yeah, I think it comes with repetition. Yeah. I've had conversations with students where maybe they're saying, hey, I'm frustrated about this. And my question will always be, well, have you talked to them? Mm-hmm. Let me encourage you to do that. But pick the right times and place. Let the guard down. You own what you need to own. But then the other part that you and I didn't get to is it's not guaranteed to work.
Right.
You're only in control of yourself.
Correct.
But I still tell them, even if you do it and it doesn't work, and you leave, they're still frustrated with you, at least you can go to bed that night saying you controlled the part that you're in control of.
Right.
And that's still a major win.
And you got to tell them what you were frustrated about. And that relieves so much anxiety and burden, I think.
Yeah.
And you can walk away from that conversation and be like, well, I told them the way I feel. And you know what? I'll be honest with you. Both my husband and I, sometimes we hear what the other person's saying and like we just can't respond at that moment because we're hurt or we're angry or all of the above. Mm-hmm. And we have to take a little bit of time and step back, and then we'll come back to the table, right? Yeah. A day or two later, right? So conflict is not always resolved right then at the moment. Sometimes it's over time. But I agree with you. This is something that we have to start teaching, and we have to start teaching it on repeat. I believe that it's something that should start in the home. As parents, we need to start teaching our children. Like, I believe in this thing called emotional intelligence, and I fear that we're in a time in our world when there has never been less of it, primarily because of screens. Uh-huh. It also has something to do with the fact that we're all so busy that we're not teaching our own children or our friends and family as much as we used to. Uh-huh. We're relying on schools to do it, or heaven forbid, the internet and social media to do it, right? And so how do we as just humans and people who care, how do we take that responsibility back? Like, how do we start doing that?
Yeah, I would want to brainstorm with you. I just go back to repetition and talking about it. There needs to be more courses. Maybe there needs to be a specific, hey, when they leave this school, they're going to
They're going to know
understand
how to do this.
how to do this.
Because there's conflict everywhere in life. And I would say there might never been a time when there's more conflict. It's different conflict. It's not hand-to-hand combat like we've had in past lives, past decades, centuries, whatever. But there's so much conflict online. Like right now, if you disagree with somebody, people just start yelling, right?
Yeah.
Over things that don't even necessarily have an impact on your own life. You're like, but I just don't believe what you believe, right?
It's an unproductive echo chamber.
Yeah.
Where I think if people or young people they think they're in conflict, maybe they're releasing dopamine by commenting stuff, and they think, this is for a cause. It's not productive.
No.
It's not doing any good. But do you ever remember a time when you were growing up and you experienced that, like a moment of conflict, and you had to, it wasn't easy, but you had to say, okay, here I go. I'm gonna go do it.
Yeah.
That's how you learn how to do it.
Right.
Like, it just comes down to, when it finds you, how are you going to handle it? And then you get one good repetition of, I tried it and it worked. Now I have that in my tool belt and I know I can do it again. I just go back to that.
Well, and I think there's something, I have a lot of thoughts going through my head. One, we need to be dealing with it in our own homes when they're children and teaching them how to handle conflict and to have a conversation about it and the correct words to use for it that aren't aggressive words, but that are more like, this is what happened and this is how it made me feel, right? Putting it on ourselves, but making the other person aware of it so that then they're like, oh, wow, that hurt them. What I did hurt them. And I didn't know that the way I was handling this was making them feel that way, because like you have to, that's the emotional intelligence, right? And you have to be exposed to it in order to understand that this action can cause this feeling, right? And we're missing that whole disconnect there. And I admit to being bad about it, having given my kids iPads so that they would stay busy while I was doing the laundry or reading a contract or whatever I was doing, right? And I as a parent of teenagers, I regret ever giving my kids iPads. And I didn't let them have phones till they were 14, and I probably was too early. My 16-year-old still doesn't have social media though.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Just because he doesn't need it yet.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, Mom, all my friends have Snapchat. That's how they talk. And I'm like, well, find some friends that will text with you or, something. But I think the communication and the lack of communication is one of the big drivers. And so how do we go about fixing that ability to communicate? And I think it's going to have to come down to parents taking phones away at dinner tables. Our schools took phones away. Our K through 12 schools took phones away this year.
Yeah.
And we have seen huge improvement from that.
Right.
With kids actually talking together in lunchrooms, in hallways, having conversations in classes, having conversations with teachers. So the more that we pull those devices away from them, and there are all kinds of studies now saying that we absolutely have to pull the devices away from young kids, especially the short programming, the social media type programming. And even if it's something that's good, that's teaching them their alphabet, them having too much of that short programming is rewiring their brain to need dopamine hits all the time. Yeah. And, so I think that we're now seeing the science that says we need to take the screens away. But as adults, we have to admit that we see the problem. We know we need to take the screens away.
Sure.
Right? And so, but reinstilling in our own children communication at churches, taking them to church, taking them to Bible study, taking them to, Sunday school, and letting them be computer free and screen free and have interaction with other kids at school and interaction with godly people who are leading them that can help them. There's going to be conflict in those classes, especially when they're playing. How do we help them resolve that? Right? Let's teach them right then and there.
That's a great, just those settings. That's such a big deal for the school system to do that.
Yeah.
We heard those positive things at LCU about K through 12 in Texas removing phones, and there was even a conversation last semester, like, what would that look like on our college campus, right? It's different, but even within the classroom setting, what if technology was mitigated within that?
Yeah.
But the settings you're talking about, being in community without it.
Yes.
I'm thankful to have experienced both. Like I can remember a
Yeah,
time
too.
without it.
And actually, that time was so much more free for me because I didn't have the screen that
Yeah.
had me at its beck and call,
Yeah.
that was interrupting me with notifications when I was having a conversation with someone. People still get mad at me today because I might go an entire day without responding to a text,
Yeah.
because I really like being focused on a person, actually having a conversation, being in community with someone else, right? It's has so much more meaning to me than this.
Yes.
And yet I still, from time to time, will see that I've, throughout the course of the day, still spent 4 hours on my darn cell phone, right? Because I track that stuff now. I want to know, how much time is this screen taking away productivity from my life?
Yeah.
How much time is this phone taking away relationships from my life? Like, people got to start tracking that, because that device is really nothing but something to distract you from making your life better.
A few years ago, I was convicted about social media, just feeling like, man, I don't know what the return on this is.
Yeah.
I don't think much good is coming from it. It's wasting time, is what I'm trying to say. And so I deleted all of it, not permanently, but for a time. And when I did that, you know what I thought? I thought, hey, you know what? It's been a while since I've picked up a book and read it for fun.
Yeah.
On the couch, right? In between things going on in the day, I'm going to read a book. And what was sad is I remember almost having to retrain my brain to focus enough to do that. And I was like, this is kind of crazy. I'll admit that.
Yeah.
But it can be done. Like I did it.
Yeah.
And I enjoy reading. I'm still reading now, but that's what it's doing to us. And so you remember growing up reading.
Oh, yeah.
And there are some students that are doing it. But what's a generation going to look like that never experienced that and only experienced TikTok, which is enjoy it, and the second you don't, skip it. Enjoy it until you don't, skip it.
Yeah.
Where reading requires a little bit more grittiness from you to weave in and out and learn the story that way.
But you know what I love about it too? And I, like you, had gotten where I was spending way too much time on social media, podcasts. And so last year I challenged myself to read a book a week.
Oh, wow.
I did.
Good for you.
And I ended up reading, on average, a book every 2 days.
Were you listening to? Were you audio?
Nope.
Oh,
Just books.
that's impressive.
Just books.
Wow.
And the first 2 weeks to month were hard. Like, I had to set my timer, put it on my calendar, get out the book, give myself time to get into it, because that's the thing. When you first start a book, you're not into it yet. Like, you've got to give yourself enough time to get into it till you know the characters, you're starting to see the plot, you're invested in it, right? You've got to give yourself enough time. That first time you sit down with the book, you've got to give yourself enough time to get invested in it. But the second that you're into the story, and obviously picking what you're going to read is important, something that will hold your interest. And I always recommend reading a book for fun and then a book for growth.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Like, I try to go back and forth, or a set that's for fun and a set that's for growth, series. But once I started rolling, and once I had taken long enough where I had detoxed my brain from the dopamine hits from this, and it took about 2 weeks, then I was all in on the books, and I didn't even want to pick up my phone.
Yeah.
I was literally thinking to myself, when can I be finished here so I can go read that book, because I'm dyslexic. And I see pictures when I read. And so a really good book becomes a movie to me.
Wow.
But it becomes the movie that I made, because I get to visualize the people the way I want, and I get to visualize the background that way I want. So it can become so cool, and it can be this almost escapism from things in life. Now, be careful, because it can become escapism from things in life, just like
the same way. Yeah. That's amazing though.
Yeah.
I love the way you described that.
It was really
And
cool.
it's stuck? Like,
I'm still reading.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I noticed this. I've been in a time of a lot of change recently at work and different things, and had a lot of other things pulling at my time. And so I'm still reading at least one book a week. I would say probably one every 4 or 5 days, really. But I've slowed down a little bit from last year, because I have to focus on some other things as well. And I'm trying to find that balance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Yeah. But I absolutely love it.
Social media, or no? Are you out?
I'm still on social media a little bit, not as much,
Yeah.
and really trying to be very, very aware and like setting a timer on, okay, I'm going to hop on, I'm going to check the things that are important to me on social media.
Yeah.
I'm very cognizant of my feed, of what I'm letting myself see. And when I start to see things coming in my feed that are just distractions or that are not good for me, I start hand selecting things. I start searching things out that will change my feed to be more positive, to be things that are bringing me educational material, things that are improving my quality of life, so that I'm trying to make sure my feed is always positive.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, whether it's I'm following some different pastors. I'm following a lot about what's going on with our 250th anniversary of the United States. And I'm following some people that are talking about what happened during the American Revolution so that I can gain more knowledge. And then from that, I'm finding books
Oh, cool.
to then read, right? So I think and we kind of diverted here, but I think that we all have the opportunity for the time that we are going to spend on our devices. I urge everyone to pick what's going to be on your feed. Start pulling in things, like searching them out, asking other people, what good things are you watching?
Yeah.
Who are the people that you're enjoying following that are bringing positivity into your life, that are bringing God into your life, that are bringing positive improvement, right?
Yeah.
Or that are teaching you something? Ask your friends and start pulling those people into your feed and following them.
Sure.
And start unfollowing things that are bringing negativity into your life or just distraction.
Well, that's such a good way to do it, because think about at the end of 40 years that you were on social media, someone was on social media,
Yeah.
and every night after they eat dinner, they just mindlessly doom scroll.
Yeah.
After 40 years, how much time could you look at? Hey, how'd you spend those years? Oh, well, 20 weeks was spent on social.
Yeah.
5 years was spent on social media. What do you remember about that? Nothing. I mean,
Yeah, no, it's
it
100%
honestly
true.
makes me sad to think about how much time is wasted on there. But
Yeah.
the alternative you just presented is a great way to maximize that experience.
And it was about 5 years ago that I had this aha moment. And I had been in my bathtub and I'd been watching something, and all of a sudden, I have 3 learning differences. So I'm dyslexic, I have ADD, and I have a processing delay. That combination also gives me time blindness. This is one of
Lose track of time.
this thing that I struggle with every day of my life. If I've ever been late to meet you, it's not you, it's not disrespectful. It's that I literally think 30 minutes have gone by and it's possible 2 hours have gone by. And it's a real thing. You can see it's been researched, it's been studied, it's a real thing. And so I live my life setting timers most of the time. And because once I get into something, I get so hyper focused. That's how I taught myself to be able to read really well, is a hyper focus.
Okay.
And it's like walls come down and it's just me and the book. Or in the case of the phones, me and the screen. And it's like I have no concept of how much time's going around or what's happening around me. It's good and it's bad, right? But 5 years ago, I had been doing that, and all of a sudden I looked up and it was 3 o'clock in the morning. And I had been watching a podcast about gardening. So it was something good. It was something I was interested in, but it had just gone on and on and on. And I'd been sitting there taking notes about all these things I wanted to do in my garden and how all this organic things I was going to do. And I'm like, but it's 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'm now sacrificing my sleep, which is one of the most important things that we need. And to watch somebody else live their life. And even though it was good for me, at what cost to me have I done this, right? And then I started thinking about the television shows and just the music that brings nothing to my life, but just serves as a distraction. And I was like, why do I want to spend my time watching somebody else live their life, or watching somebody else worse live their fake life in a television show that's been made up, when I could be learning? And there's so much out there that I want to learn. And there's so much out there that I want to have impact on in my life. Why would I let this be such a distraction?
Sure. Convicting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's when I started cutting out television. And if I'm going to be on, it's going to be something positive.
I love that.
That's going to make my life better, or that's going to teach me something that can make my life or somebody else's life better.
Feels like if you're learning something, there's a different flavor to it.
Yes.
It's like, okay,
Yeah.
this is fruitful.
Yes. or something that then I can turn and apply to my life or to my kids' life or to my community. So, yeah.
Absolutely. I love that.
But back to the conversation, and this is not the Ashley B. Cash show for Ashley to talk, but the leadership. Okay, so what can we do in the K through 12 education school to help this communication? Personally, I believe that we need to start kids speaking in elementary school.
Yeah.
Like, I think that, and actually, I've got a proposal for the legislature this next year. We know our reading scores are horrendous. I can promise you that our writing scores are also bad. I think that we should give twice as much time to reading language arts.
Yeah.
So break it into 2 classes. So you have one that is just purely reading, because it's so critically important that kids, and especially in elementary school, K through 6, that they have enough time to actually read and become really good readers. And right now, the new STAR test scores from across the state of Texas that were just revealed in June say that across all grades, on average, only 55% of Texas students are reading at grade level.
Wow.
So we're failing, and we're failing way too many. So can we give them more time to read and become good readers, and then have another class that lines up with the reading material to be writing and speaking?
Debate, like these debate
And
programs.
then it crawls into debate program by the time they're in high school. Absolutely.
When I was thinking about this, I have zero experience in the K through 12 space, other than when I was a student myself.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about this and really wondering what I would do. And then I thought, similarly to you just said, time, like time and repetition. That's my whole thing. But I cannot tell you the amount of time I've spent talking to communication students in the courses that I've taught, just hammering home the idea of, like, guys, I'm telling you, right now, in the era that we're in, if you get good at this, you will separate yourself from the
100%.
people that you're going to be competing against. And not that it's all competition, but I'm serious in interviews,
Yes.
in promotions, because of the very thing that you're talking about. I told my students all the time, it is going to help you separate if you know how to get up in front of a room and speak with conviction.
Yes.
It's going to help you if you go do an interview and you present yourself well and you shake hands and you remember names and you speak with authority. It's going to help you, because I'm telling you, the people you're competing against, the odds, like you just said, 55%?
Yeah.
The odds are you're going to have a leg up. And so always talk to them about controlling the controllables. And for you, say you were hiring somebody and say you were down to 2 finalists. And one of the finalists, let's say, was a business major and the other finalist was a communication major. And maybe the business major technically had better credentials on the resume. But after the interview, you realized that the communication major, communicated far more effectively. They had charisma. They shook your hand. They remembered you after. They emailed you after the fact. They presented themselves more effectively.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That will beat the person with better credentials.
Yeah.
So there's value
There's so
in
much.
figuring these things out. I don't have the magic wand to tell you how K through 12 is going to fix it. But what I would tell, parents or people that could help guide their kids, like, do the things we're talking about. Take the technology out of their hands. If you can find an avenue to give your kid a repetition, a debate club, a speech opportunity, make them get up. You wouldn't believe, in my
Even teach them to be a singer and go in front of people and sing. They have to present themselves well. If that's their field, right?
My classroom and your colleague Allie, your assistant Allie, she could tell you, I constantly made my students get up and present. It wasn't, hey, it's speech day. It's like, oh, you don't know when speech day is gonna be in my class, because that's how you learn.
It is.
That's how you get better. It's like, hey, why don't you teach us about this? Tell us what you learned. And then we're communication majors, so we're gonna communicate.
Yeah.
So
No, it's fabulous. I love that.
we did stuff like that all the time.
There's an old adage, always be selling. And the first thing that you're ever selling is yourself.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that there is in our society a culture of success.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what you came from. That's not what determines it at all. It doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter where you came from. It doesn't matter what you had. It is, how do you present yourself? Do you present yourself correctly for the given situation?
Yeah.
Do you speak correctly for the given situation? Do you dress appropriately for that particular situation, right? And are you constantly educating yourself? Are you keeping yourself abreast of what is going on in the world? Are you paying attention to current events? Are you learning the latest technology for whatever career that you have? Are you always going above and beyond, right? Those are the keys to the culture of success. And those are the things that will help you get promotions. Those are the things that will bring you to the attention of your bosses.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with where you came from or what you look like or any of that, because everybody can do the rest of it. Anybody can do it,
Yeah.
right? Anybody can decide, I'm going to speak differently. I'm going to emulate my boss, right? I'm going to dress more like my boss dresses. It doesn't have to be as expensive. It just has to be appropriate, right? And I truly believe that there is that culture of success. I talk to kids about that all the time. I'm like, and they're like, well, I can't because I didn't come from this background. I'm like, that has nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
That really has nothing to do with it. But you do have to make changes to your life, but they're just in this realm. It's not your culture. It's not your skin tone. It's not any of that. It's how are you fitting yourself into this environment, right? And are you drawing positive attention to yourself?
There's way more things you're in control of than things that you're not. I mean,
No, 100%.
now there's some things out of our control.
Yeah.
But are you on time? Are you consistent? Is your demeanor the same Monday as it is on Friday? I mean, things like that you're in control of, and those are the things that you as an employer are gonna notice.
Are you bringing positivity to your employment? Are you being a positive encourager to the other employees? Or are you someone that's causing conflict and causing people to feel ill at ease?
Yeah.
Right? Those are important aspects of that. Right? Because your employer does eventually notice who the person is that's causing all the conflicts in the office.
They'll figure it out.
Right? Or you can have a great idea, but if you can't present it well, no one's ever going to take it and do anything with it.
That's right.
Right? And so those communication, that's really critically important. And that communication will also lead back, come in full circle, to helping you be able to handle conflict better.
Yeah.
Right?
It will.
Because I think it's the communication skills. But you mentioned debate. I think that is one of the keys. And I think you got to start early, but I think you grow it through debate in high school. And I think they should be taking debate in college too, or the communications.
Awesome. Yeah.
People in the communications should be debating each other on topics.
All of the students that did debate in high school that I had as college students, they were excellent communicators.
Yes.
They knew how to get up and present thoughts. I mean, excellent.
But I think it will also help us avoid more conflict, because the thing about debate is that you have to know how to research.
Right.
And you have to know both sides of a topic.
Yeah, you know what's wrong on your side.
Yes.
Yeah,
as
absolutely.
well as what's wrong on the other side, right? But doing that research, like today in our world, because of the phones and because of the access to AI and everything on the internet, people just are believing, and because people are poor readers, a lot of people, they're just believing what they're being told, and oftentimes it's not true.
Yeah.
Or it's a false narrative of the truth, right? But if we teach every child how to do their own research, then maybe they'll stop believing everything that they're hearing from the talking heads.
Sure.
And be like, I'm going to go check that out myself. That's what I do.
Yeah.
And I call the source. Second I hear somebody said something, I'm either going to find the video of the full thing to make sure that it's being cut out in context and not cut out of context, right? But I'm also, if I hear about a topic, I'm going to do research. Data centers. It's the big talk everywhere right now. And you either love them or you hate them. Well, I'm actually falling right in the middle. I think that we need some of them, but I've also gone and done research.
Sure.
And I know that there's a way to do data centers that protects water. I know there's a way to do it that gives us net positive energy. I know there's a way to do it that protects farmland, and that there's a way to do it that actually brings money into your economy and help drives business and helps keep taxes low for the rest of the taxpayers. Right? But I've gone and done my research. Now I'm not in favor of any that don't do that, right? And so you have to do your research on every single topic and just not listen to what you're being told. But that will help people not have as much conflict.
It will. And what my concern is that whatever my opinion is, right now my algorithm is going to only re-emphasize my opinion.
Oh, for sure.
Right? It's not going to show me the other side.
Which is
And
why you need to do the research.
but most people are not. So that's the concern, is that their ideas, it becomes this echo chamber, only emphasizing and not teaching, alienating the other side. In fact,
Well, and we see that across our country on the political fronts, right?
that's it. Yeah,
You see the
that's
blue
it.
on the left and the blue on the right, and they're all talking amongst themselves. And then you see the red in the middle, and we're all talking amongst ourselves. And the answer's usually somewhere in the middle,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. We at church last Sunday, the message was on unity, the idea of us, being loving to everyone and welcome everyone around our table, not just those that we agree with. And one of our elders prayed at the end. He's like one of my mentors, Randall Dement, and he said this line that's really stuck with me ever since. But he said, he was praying. He said, "Lord, we want you to teach us about unity, not our algorithms." And I was like, wow,
It's profound.
that's convicting, and
It is.
that's right. But yes, all of what you're sharing, it will help with conflict. And I don't know the solution in K through 12. I really don't.
That's okay. We'll go talk to the scientists and
Yeah,
hopefully do some getting back to basics and then bring some new things to
the
the
cell
table.
phones is a big deal. That's
a big deal.
That's a great first
Yeah,
step.
it's a great first step, and I'm really grateful to Representative Caroline Fairley from Amarillo who brought that bill, and I'm grateful to the TEA and the SBOE who got it enacted in schools really quickly, and like they passed it, and it was in this last school year, and it had amazing results. And I've even heard other people talking about further reducing screens, not just telephones, but how can we, especially for K through 6, like I think it's really critically important that we reduce screens for those kids.
Even in college classrooms, a lot of students will do notes on their computer. That is a hodgepodge of distraction sitting right there in front of their face. And so I've heard faculty members talk just this last semester about, well, I'm making my students take notes on paper.
Yeah.
And then they were struck with the conflict of, but they didn't know how to do that. And so it's a really interesting thing, and you can go both ways. Because then another one said, well, my student uses their phone to record the lecture, and then the notes are made from AI, which I could tell you, I think that's smart. Like that could work, right? But there is a lot of data showing handwritten notes are the best way to retain and learn.
Absolutely. I'm one of those old school people that I actually record it with a digital device because of my processing delay.
Sure.
And my kids have the same dyslexia processing, and they're also dysgraphic. So I have multiple devices for them to record, but I still tell them to write it out, even though writing is very hard for them.
Sure.
Because there's such evidence that tactile writing actually helps you retain the information as well. And if I were a teacher, I'd say record it. Don't have it where you can see it recording. Have it recording. You take notes yourself, or at least just sit and listen.
Yeah.
So that you're absorbing it in more than one way, and then you can go back to that to re-listen to it later, to make your notes more specific, to pick up the things that you missed the first time around.
Yeah.
That's great.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I kind of think having all of those together is a positive thing.
Sure.
But I don't think we should give up something that worked in the past for something that's new. How can we figure out how to make them work together?
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
But so we started this about leadership. We started with conflict resolution. And I think that we've come up with some positive ideas, much more work to be done, obviously. I think emotional intelligence with conflict resolution is a key. And how can we teach kids to handle their emotions? I'm hoping this next I've got lots of bill ideas that I'm bringing this next legislative session, but I would love to see an adulting 101 class.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
There's our budgeting again.
Yeah.
That's where you could put that.
Yeah. And in that we could have, how do we build the emotional intelligence that's so much of adulting, right? But that really should be happening starting in kindergarten. We need to make sure our teachers have enough time to work with the kids and say, whoa, that's not the way we handle this. A better way for you to do that is this.
Sure.
We don't fight with our fists with our friends. Like, we're going to talk about it, right? We got to start it all the way through school, and we got to make that normal again. And even in college,
Oh yeah, I think it would be a great college class.
But we can't be afraid to say, wait, that's not the way you handle that, right? This is a better way to handle that, no matter how old they are. Even with our own friends.
That's right.
Sometimes we got to stop them and be like, oh, wait.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then we also brought up personal financial literacy. So, this is one of my favorite topics. So, but I want you to kick off how you think personal financial literacy will help with leadership.
Yeah. Well, it's just living below your means creates so much flexibility for yourself that you can't even imagine.
Yeah.
And it's a discipline.
It is.
And it requires learning how it works and what it looks like and what tools you use to help you do it. But you can't even understand the flexibility it provides for you until you experience it. And talk to students all the time about it. It's like, hey, I might be having some student debt after I finish. Okay, well, let's talk about budgeting, because this is a practical way that you can attack that, right? And so if you do this well, you got some student debt, well, you can pay it off. You do this well, you want to be generous, go be generous. You do this well, you want to go on a trip, go on a trip. Invest, start an IRA. I mean, it just creates so much freedom for you and your family that you can do. And then in turn, I'm convinced that if you learn how to do that in your family, it's going to give you good repetition to then, if you're in business someday, if you're in leadership, it's, hey, this is how we operate our home. Let's operate our business like this too.
I guess the origin of HB 27 this last session I was the origin. And then it was carried by Representative Ken King and Senator Flores, and we passed it. And for the last 4 months, I've been helping, observing and helping with the TEKS for personal financial literacy for the K through 12 education system. So in Texas, we're now going to require a semester of personal financial literacy for every student.
In high school?
In high school.
That's great.
It will start with the class of 2030, and just making sure that we're getting those right. But one of the things that I'm convicted that we have to address is consumerism. We've always
unpack that for me.
So we might have referred to it as keeping up with the Joneses.
Sure.
But for young kids now, it's that, well, I need the nice thing now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or I need the pizza today. What has been amazing to me as I've tried to build out my own financial literacy course that I just do locally here at churches is on Facebook Marketplace. You can now just finance things. Like, you don't have to have a credit card.
Wow.
They will just finance it for you in the app.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You can now order a pizza on 3 or 4 payments.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And so we've taught this generation, because I get back to phones, they see everybody with the Louis Vuitton and the Chanel and the Prada and the Balenciaga and the whatever and the nicest iPhone and the best sneakers and the whatever, and they think that's what they need to have to be cool.
Yeah.
Right? And so we're telling all these people that before you've saved and before you've invested, you need to be wearing the right things, carrying the right things, doing the right things, going on the fancy trips. It's a me, I need right now generation. And it's not the generation, it's all of us, right?
Yeah.
And so how do we reel that back? How do we say, and it's never been more important, because I'm pretty sure that Social Security is not going to exist in 10 years,
Sure.
right? I've paid into it my whole life. I'm 54, and I'm betting in 10 years it just doesn't exist anymore.
There. Yeah.
And so all of us need to be saving for our futures, for the life we want to live when we no longer want or need to work.
Yeah.
But if we're not, and Social Security is gone, you're going to need to work the rest of your life.
Yeah.
That's the reality. So how do we pull back the consumerism and say the stuff is no longer important?
Right.
You need to be saving for yourself. You need to learn to invest so that it compounds and grows to be a bigger amount for your retirement. And how do we put more emphasis on relationships, which brings us back to communication, right? On the relationships, on your relationship with God, on your relationship with your family, on your relationship with your friends, and make those the more important things versus the consumerism.
It's all about who taught it to you on the financial literacy part. And you probably had people around you that told you to be wise, right? When you started out in your young professional, young family, there's that's the time to go, right? Like it's
My parents my dad took me to a bank when I was 9 years old. I'd gotten some birthday money. He goes, we're going to go start your own checking account. And I remember him walking me in, and I was scared to death, right? These dark walls, all these older people, and it was just me and my dad, and I was like grabbing his hand. And everybody was very nice to me, though, and we set up my checking account. And then my dad turned to me and he said, and if you ever overdraw your bank account, you will go to jail. And I was like, and it made me not want to spend any money in my bank account. I was like, I'm not ever overdrawing my bank account, and knock on wood, I haven't done that. But like I was like, I don't want that to happen, right? And then my parents talked to me about saving, about not using a lot of money, but not in a lot of detail. But I kind of learned what not to do from my parents, because my parents lived in two very cyclical industries. They were in ranching and oil and gas. And when things were good, things were great.
Sure.
And when things were bad, things were getting sold.
Yeah.
Right? And it was a very uncomfortable life to live in. And I was like, I don't ever want to do that to my kids or my family.
Sure.
I don't want to feel that stress. And so I was like, oh, no, I'm gonna be a saver. Right? And early on I saved, but I didn't know how to invest. And then I got a 401k when I was had a W-2 paycheck. And I did that for the match, right? And my accountant had told me that I needed to start an IRA so that I could get, at the time it was $2,000 a year, and you could get $2,000 off your taxes. And then when I was about 28, he told me I was making too much money, and that didn't matter anymore. But he never thought about the compounding part of it. Or even more importantly, he never thought about the Roth IRA part of it, which was you put the money in at a low amount and you pay tax on that. And then after it grows and it compounds and you're ready for retirement and it's a much bigger number, you never pay taxes on it again.
Pull it out tax-free.
You know, and it was really not until I was 40 that I really started learning all of that. And it was through mentors.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's what I hear almost every time I'm in a conversation, and it goes like this: I wish I would have started sooner.
Absolutely.
I mean, that is said every single time. And one of the observations I have is when you talk to someone that just got out of college or is 20, in their 20s and is not doing this, I think they feel like they don't have enough money to do it, or they're thinking, oh, I'm not making enough, so it doesn't matter. To which point I would tell them, no, it matters more when you're in this financial spot. You can still be in control of your finances even if you're not making a crazy amount of money. You can still pay off your loans if you're not making a crazy amount of money. Now it requires different discipline levels, but that's absolutely the time to do it.
Absolutely. I actually spoke on Tuesday in Dallas at the Teacher Freedom Alliance, and my whole speech was about personal financial literacy and the importance. And I was trying to get the teachers to want to change, right? Yeah. Learn a new curriculum, which, as I said, I'm not a fan of change usually, but to learn a new curriculum and to start teaching this next generation. And hopefully they would learn along the way and help their families as well. And I said, the most important time for someone to be saving and investing is 18 to 35. Absolute most important time, because you give that money so much time to compound. And like I will be at a grocery store or at a store, and I'll be talking to young people, and I'll be like, hey, y'all are working, great, good for you. Are you saving? And someone will be like, no. And I'll be like, okay, we need to start that. And then I'll be like, how about investing? And they'll be like, no. And I was like, you absolutely need to start. Yeah. And I pull out these numbers. And these are rough numbers. They're not exactly specific. But if at 25, you will start saving $300 a month, which you can do by eating out a few less times, not drinking a Starbucks, maybe not going shopping one time a month. You can find $300. But especially if you're young and don't have all the other expenses that we get as we get older. But you save $300 a month starting when you're 25. You put it in a Roth IRA. You invest it in standard index funds, maybe something like a Vanguard VU. Based on historical data, you should end up with around $1.6 million when you're 59 and a half.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. But if you wait till you're just 35, so you wait 10 years, you don't invest, and at 35 you start investing and you do the same thing. $300 a month, every month, into a Roth IRA, into a standard index fund, possibly Vanguard VU, and based on historical data, you will only end up with around $700,000. So that 10 years of not investing and it was only $36,000 you didn't invest, I have literally had kids say, well, I'll just live 1 year less. I'm like, no, that's not the way it works.
Yeah.
But it costs you $1 million.
Yeah.
So that early investing, and that's why we had to get it in our high schools. And I would love to see LCU.
Yeah.
And I've actually talked with Chancellor Creighton at Texas Tech University just recently and said, great, we're getting into high schools, but what about the kids that are already through?
Absolutely.
Like, what can you do at the colleges? Can you make personal financial literacy a required class? Like, instead of just all these electives that may or may not matter to them, can we make this a core class, possibly their freshman year?
Right.
Because I know in conversations I've had with like the previous chancellor at Texas Tech, Ted Mitchell, he told me that they have these kids come to Texas Tech and they get here and for the first time ever, they're given a lump sum of money and their parents say, good luck. And they've got to figure out how to pay rent, how to pay for their food, some other things. And they blow it because they don't know how to take care of it,
Sure.
right? And then they find themselves, how am I going to pay rent? They're completely stressed out. And then they're not focused on their schoolwork, right?
Oh, man, yeah.
And so how do we, LCU, Texas Tech, adults in their lives, help them prepare better so that they can actually focus on the important things, one of which is personal financial literacy, right? Because starting to invest early, not having that stress in your life so that you can live a better, more fruitful life is so important.
Yeah, I think it should be required for all majors.
Yeah.
Not just our finance ones that are going to have an understanding of some of this when they get out.
But I have to tell you, I was a business student and nobody taught me the personal financial side of it. They only taught me the finance.
So you knew how it
business.
worked in the industry,
Yes.
but at home you still,
But not for me.
See, that's interesting.
Yeah, no, I had to go and search it out on my own.
So I was communication, and I'll tell you, I'm blessed to say this. I have a good friend named Nathan, and it was 6 months after I started my first job where we actually started having a regular paycheck come in. It was 6 months after that. My friend Nathan goes, "Hey, are you budgeting?"
Yeah.
I said,
"What?"
I said, "No, I'm not." And he said, "Can I show you?" And so naive at the time. I was like, "I guess, sure, if you want to." It blessed my life immensely.
Yeah.
And he showed me that, and I was like, holy cow, I wish I would have started this 6 months sooner.
Yeah.
And so I say that for leaders, like that comes to mind for leaders, because then I got married over 2 years ago. And so then, me and my wife, our incomes are coming together and we're learning how to deal with finances together. It was on me to then show my wife, hey, this is a smart way to do this. Like, let me teach you. And she was like hands off, like, you got it. Like, no, I want to welcome you into this. Let's learn how to do this together. Let's make a plan. And I think it's a big responsibility for men to lead their families in that way too. I think too often people let the circumstances of their life, like, oh, we're having a kid, or I'm doing a new job, or oh, we're not making quite enough yet. They let those things dictate whether they budget with discipline when they shouldn't. I think everyone should learn how to do it and start.
100%. I agree with both those things you said, and I want to unpack both of them real fast. Number one, I know that when employees are having financial stress, they are not able to give their best to a company. So I think businesses out there should start providing financial literacy class to their employees too. In fact, here we have brought in a Dave Ramsey program at my office.
That's awesome.
And then I take it a step further because I want to teach them some parts that I think Dave Ramsey either doesn't get to or I don't necessarily agree with. But I agree with 90% of what he does. And like, I think that would be great for every business. I think that they would find better satisfaction. Their employees have better satisfaction. Their employees have less stress, and therefore they can be better in their companies.
Yeah.
But then I think that just like you were talking about relationships, one of the things I see go horrible for people in their relationships is like maybe one of them decides they're going to be in charge of the finances. Right. And sometimes it's the husband and sometimes it's the wife. It just depends on who has that skill or in that time. But to truly be a partnership, and remember, marriage is a covenant, and you have now just made yourselves one, right? You need to operate through your life with that same philosophy. And if one of you has decided to be in charge of the finances, but you're not communicating why you're saving with the other person, right? Like you need, first of all, I believe every couple should independently goal set. And then I think they need to come together and goal set together as a couple. And then I have just started recently starting this thing with our family where we have written out a family mission statement. We have written out a family value statement. And then I would take it a step further. My kids are a little old now, but I have Lonnie Geiger is the one that I heard this from, and he was like, "We do it for business. Why don't we do it for the most important thing in our lives, our family, right?" And but he like has his little 3-year-olds set goals, and it may just be one goal for the year, like they're going to get the yellow belt in karate, or they're going to make 3 goals in soccer. But having goals and teaching people to set goals early in their life is critical.
I love that.
But then having a family goal too. Like, how are we going to operate as a family? Are we going to talk to each other? Are we going to have Sunday dinners? Are we going to put our phones aside and have real communication? What are our values? And then using those value statements, the words in those value statements, when you're having interactions with each other, and especially when you have to discipline, right? Well, do you really want to go out with your friends till 2:00 in the morning on a Saturday night when your goal is to make it to the national championship in basketball someday? Like, is that helping you meet your goal? Right? Instead of just, you're not doing it because I said so, right? Like, you can change the whole.
Gives you new language to use.
New language. Yeah. But in a couple, there's a book that I read and I recommend often. It's called Building an Empire. It's by Elena Cardone. And it is the principles that she and Grant Cardone use in their life to go from Grant only having, like, living in a car and being a drug addict to now having over $5 billion in assets, right? Wow. But she talks about how they goal set independently, they goal set together, and that goal setting, yoking themselves together to pull in the same direction all the time, especially financially, so that when you're in that saving period of your life, right, and you're pulling back on your spending, both partners know why they're doing it. Yeah. And when you see the thing at the store that you want, you don't buy it because but my husband and I, or my wife and I, we have a bigger purpose, and that's not worth it.
Absolutely.
Right? But yoking yourself together and pulling in that same direction, you will get there much faster.
And it's important to walk them along in that. So we use a budgeting tool. And so it's different than me just, hey, Ashton, let's try not and spend more than this. And then her thinking, oh man, we can only spend this much.
Right.
That's different than us having that goal. Okay, we're going to stay below there, then executing it. And then her seeing, oh, because we did that, we then now invested this. And then actually some time goes by and getting to look together and say, hey, look, remember when we invested this? Yeah. Look where it's at now. I mean, there's great value in partnering, like you're saying, walking along.
Absolutely.
You don't want just one person at the steering wheel.
And the alternative, like, I've had friends in my life whose husbands gave them an allowance for the month.
Sure.
And they're like, you have this much money. You cannot spend more than this much money. They had their credit card set up to ding the husband if the wife spent more than like $5. And the husband was always like, why do you do that? Why do you do that? Well, wouldn't it have been better if the wife together, they'd said, well, this is going to be our budget. We only want to spend this much money because our real goal is to do X, Y, and Z.
Absolutely.
Then the understanding of why there's only this much money to spend for the month, the partnership on only wanting to spend them. And heck, what if you can spend less because you clip coupons and you do things and it gets your growth to be even more? Because the crazy thing is, and I'm going to get these numbers wrong, but they're close. It's something like $1 saved in your 20s produces about $4,500 in retirement. But $1 saved in your 30s only produces about $3,500 in retirement, right? $1 in your 20s drops to about $2,300, right? So those early years, getting you and your spouse to get on the same page early and know why you're restricting your spending.
Sure.
But it's for a much more better, and then you're, like you said, showing each other along the way at how together you're growing this nest egg for your future.
Yeah. I need to get you to come to LCU and do your financial literacy class for our students. I think it'd be awesome.
It's, well, I it doesn't have to be mine, but I absolutely think you should do somebody.
Well, at least like a before we have something set up, like some
Yeah,
kind of seminar
yeah,
like you're doing at
yeah.
church. I think that would be
Yeah,
fantastic.
it's I love it, and we're trying to do more and more of that, and have some classes here, and I'm even trying to create something online that I can just give to people
Oh,
for
cool.
free.
Good for you.
So just because I think it's so critically important, and I think it's something that everybody should have. That's why I fought so hard for it at the Texas, with the Texas legislature, and I'm working on the personal financial literacy now. All right. We talked about things that weren't even on our list to
Yeah.
talk about,
Yeah,
but it was great. Thank you.
absolutely.
I hope that you'll come back and let's get to some other things we had planned on
100%.
talking about.
Absolutely.
Would you please tell everybody your last little parting gift and how they can get in touch with you in case they want to help?
Yeah, absolutely. Come see us at LCU. If you need anything, just reach out to me. You can find my email on our website easily. But come check us out at LCU. If it's been a while since you've seen us, I'd absolutely say we're at the top of our game. We had our highest freshman class ever last fall, and we're excited about the class we're about to put together this fall as well. Don't want to say anything too early, but we're feeling really optimistic about this class as well. Just lots of good things going on. Special place, special campus. Come give us a visit. So if I can help you with anything, let me know.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Ashley. It's a lot of fun.
And please go and visit Lubbock Christian University and check out Dr. Keegan Stewart. There are amazing things going on there. It is a very godly campus, and they are really putting out amazing students. My own assistant is a product of Lubbock Christian University. Thank you all for joining us today, and I hope you will join us next time when we learn more about the education that we all need and also how we can transform our K-12 education system. See you then.